working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God.
Good day, my brothers and sisters. We have come to the end of this series of online lesson. My name is Clement Clark, the pastor in charge of the Christian Circuit of Baptist Churches, and today we'll be looking at the topic, engage in godly response. Our Bible focus is Psalm 82, verses 1 to 4, Ezekiel 34, verses 15 to 20, and St. Luke chapter 10, reading from verse 30 to 37. Our key verse is Psalm 82, verse 4. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. And our Bible truth is, as Christians, it is our duty to recognize the suffering that exists because of human trafficking and be personally involved in acts of mercy and advocacy to relieve it. Our life question is, how can I influence those in my church and my community to join the fight against crime of human trafficking? What is human trafficking? Human trafficking involves three things. One, act, recruitment, transportation, harboring, sale or receipt of human beings. Two, means, threat or use of force, coercion, adoption, fraud, deception, abuse of power or position of vulnerability, and receipt of payments or benefits. And then number three, purpose, exploitation, prostitution of others, sexual exploitation, forced labor, slavery or similar practices, servitude, or removal of organs. All these add up to trafficking in person. That's life. Dear Carlton, hope you are well today. Since I have a break from work, I am taking a few moments to share some of my concerns with you. I am unhappy that my church is not doing anything to help victims or potential victims of the trade in humans. Would you believe that one of my church sisters, who just got baptized, recently testified that she was a victim of human trafficking when she migrated in search of work 2 years ago to another Caribbean country? She said she migrated after being assured that she had received a job as an accounting clerk with a certain company. It was a trick by the company of enslaving her as a prostitute in a strip club. When she tried to escape, she was repeatedly beaten, cut all over her body, and raped. She said she only got to escape after police raided the place. Height of wickedness. Look at that picture, crying out for help. Now, I thought that her testimony would be a wake-up call for my church to become involved in building public awareness on human trafficking, but no such luck. I heard of a case in our island where drug traffickers tricked teenagers into believing that they won a prize trip overseas for a contest when they were in fact using the teenagers as drug mules. Do you think I should suggest to my pastor that our church needs to have some awareness seminars on human trafficking? Your little brother, Ken. Question. If you were Carlton, how would you respond to Ken? Before we look at the response, or think about the response, and while you're thinking, let us look back at our unit. In week 1, we explored the meaning, characteristics, forms, prevalence, and dangers of human trafficking, which is not only sinful, but morally and legally wrong. In week 2, we were invited to assess our response to the threat of human trafficking. We were urged to minimize our own risk by taking precautionary measures, such as being careful in sharing personal information on social media. And last week, we focused on child trafficking. We were advised that as adults, we need to teach children godly values and expose them to information about the dangers of child trafficking. Adults were challenged to look out for signs of child trafficking and take the appropriate steps to help our children. And for this week, we celebrate World Day Against Human Trafficking. And today, we'll be concluding our study on on this topic. The lesson will highlight the need for us to participate in advocacy against the trade in humans by defending the victims, protecting the vulnerable, and caring for the wounded. How do we defend the victims of human trafficking? Psalm 82, verse 1 to 4 will be our focus as we look at this. Psalm 82, verse 3 reads, "Defend the cause of the weak and the fatherless, maintain the rights of the poor and oppressed." As leaders, whether in society or in the church, we need to stand up against injustice. Are we defending exploitation by turning a blind eye to it? Psalm 82, verse 3 exhort us to defend the weak and fatherless and uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. As Christians, we need to stand up for victims and targets or potential targets of human trafficking. And you'll see the picture there, calling out for defend the weak, defend those children, the children behind the wire, the link fence, calling out for us to help them. Wiping out the scourge of human trafficking cannot be achieved by the government alone. All of us, especially those who profess Christ, must play our part. To defend and protect someone, we need to be knowledgeable of their plight. We have spent the past month educating ourselves about this evil, so we are now without excuse. We must continue to educate ourselves about all forms of trafficking in persons so that we can properly exercise our God-given obligation to fight against human trafficking. You and I and all adults should become knowledgeable of the 4 major approaches or strategies for addressing human trafficking. And these 4 strategies are: prevent trafficking, protect the victims, persecute traffickers, and partner with others to implement solutions. Protect the vulnerable. according to Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 15 to 20. The historical significance of Ezekiel 34 is that it was a message to the leaders of Israel who had neglected the welfare of the people. The prophetic message points to Jesus, God in the flesh, who would come and be the good shepherd to rescue his lost, injured, and weak sheep. In today's society, the shepherds are the political, church, and community leaders. Every believer should be carrying out the will of our good and supreme shepherd, is Jesus Christ. We are shepherds to the lost and hurting persons and should reach out with kindness. All of us. Question: how can we protect and help the vulnerable? 1. Know to which government agency or arm of the security force to report suspicions of human trafficking. 2. Be aware of the laws and policies that relate to human trafficking. In Jamaica, it is the Trafficking in Person Prevention, Suspension, and Punishment Act of 2007, which was amended in 2013. Thirdly, we are to advocate. Advocate for your church and Sunday school to educate members on the dangers of trade in person and finding solution. Then we are to lobby. Lobby for the security forces and the judiciary to do more to prosecute persons charged. Then we are to pray for the victims of human trafficking. And then, next one, support counseling programs for the victims. Care for the wounded. And we see this in Luke 10, verse 30 to 34. The story that you know very well, the story of the Good Samaritan, provides an example of how we should care for persons affected by human trafficking. And you'll see that picture over there, a familiar picture from a story. Somebody taking care of somebody on the road, the Good Samaritan. Think. Stop. Think. We must pour the oil and wine of hope into people's life. We must provide social, emotional, and economic support for survivors of human trafficking and their families. In what way can the church help parents and children reduce the risk of exposure to human trafficking? How can we do that? Unit conclusion: the right against human trafficking. Christians should advocate for their church or denomination to build awareness among congregants on ways to recognizing the crime of human trafficking. Churches should discuss how members can assist with solutions to the problem. And then, the covert nature of this crime makes it difficult to detect, but we must still be vigilant. Poverty puts people at risk for this criminal act. And as we bring this unit to a close and this lesson, question to ponder: how has this lesson inspired you to deal with human trafficking? What will you do differently as a result of this lesson and this unit? My sisters and brothers, thanks for tuning in and for participating. It was my pleasure being the narrator over these 4 weeks with you. I hope that you have learned a lot, and that you not only learned, but you'll put into practice what you have learned. I have learned a lot, and I definitely will put in practice what I've learned. Thank you again, and God richly bless you.
Jamaica Baptist Union Christian Education Department Sunday School Creative Expression Competition 2020. The theme for this year is COVID-19, Finding New Hope During Our New Norm. The three categories of creative expressions are drawing or painting, reflective prose, or reflective poetry. Your work should reflect your experience of COVID-19. Show how your faith has influenced your thinking or behavior during the pandemic. The age groups are younger children, 7 to 9 years, older children, 10 to 12 years, youth, 13 to 18 years, and adults, 19 years and over. The entry requirement is you must be a member of a Sunday school class with one of our Jamaica Baptist Union churches. Entry closing date is August 31st, 2020. There will be first, second, and third place prizes for each age group. Now, our competition rules and registration forms are available from your Sunday school superintendent, your church office, or the Jamaica Baptist Union website.
Miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart.